Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about Discipline Equals Freedom, a field guide by Jocko Willink. Those of you who are watching this, maybe you watch my book reviews. If you are a subscriber, I want to say thank you. I'm sorry I haven't done a lot of these videos recently. I have been reading a lot, so I will probably be cranking out about 3 more of these in the next week or 2. So look forward to that. And if you're new, maybe you stumbled into this because you are a subscriber of Jocko, you read Jocko stuff, listen to Jocko stuff. I myself listen to Jocko every now and then. He has a podcast that I watch on YouTube. And Jocko is an influencer, I think is probably the best word to describe him, but maybe a thought leader or a public intellectual, though he'd probably hate both of those designations because really he's just a doer, right? And his book, Dicipline Equals Freedom, is like his second book I forgot the first one, Extreme Ownership. I actually had to go look it up on my phone because it was going to drive me crazy. But Jocko is a Navy SEAL. He's a war veteran, and he's just one of those guys who has such a unique life experience and a lot of wisdom, I'd say, that you can't help but want to listen to him. He's very much a leader amongst men. He not only demonstrated that in wartime, but also in his career afterwards. He's a father, which he talks about a lot. He talks about raising his son and daughter, and I think a lot of people just admire him and feel that they can learn a lot from him, which is true. It's why I ended up picking up this book, Discipline Equals Freedom. I liked the title. I liked the look of the book, honestly, and I thought it'd look good on my bookshelf. And I'm right, it does look good on my bookshelf. So whoever did the design, good job. But this video is going to be pretty short because this is one of those self-help books. I talk a lot about self-improvement and reading self-improvement books. I like to do that. I think it's important that I not only balance like intellectual and entertainment, but I also do like some, sort of things that are going to benefit my life. And even if you just take away one idea from these self-help books, it's really helpful. And this is a very short read. I finished it in, an hour or 2. Just sat down and cranked it out. But the way the book is broken down is into 2 parts. The first part is on thoughts. The second part is on actions, right? So he gets kind of philosophical in the beginning part of the book where he talks about your thoughts, and your thoughts obviously lead to your actions. You are what you do, not what you think. He talks about that at one point in the book, and the importance of action. Really, he's really action oriented, and he's the type of person where it's funny that he even writes a book because I think he very much he doesn't. There's this culture of people who are trying to like improve themselves, and they just read, and they maybe they want to start a business or start a podcast or something, and they do all the groundwork, all this learning, but they don't do any doing, and that's very much what he's against, right? And we all, maybe not all of us, but I fall into that at times, right? I'm very cerebral, so I fall into that. I'm guilty of that, but this was one of those books where there's just a little bit of knowledge in it, really on every page, because he breaks it down by different ideas, right? So where does discipline come from? Mind control, until the end, right? Applications of discipline, bad instincts, fear or failure, nature versus nurture. He really kind of hits on these big ideas, and he does each of them in sort of 2 pages or less, really. And my 3 favorite sections I'm going to talk about. The first one is mind control, right? This is on page 12. He talks about, I'll just read the quote. People ask me, how do I get tougher? Be tougher. How can I wake up early in the morning? Wake up early. How can I work out consistently every day? Work out consistently every day. And how can I stop eating sugar? Stop eating sugar, right? So the point of what he's getting at is that you get to control your mind. People act and believe that, they are prisoners to their own thoughts, and like, I just can't help that I don't feel motivated. And he very much pushes back against that idea. He's very much like, yeah, you can. Just do it. Just say that that's what you're going to do, and then do it. And you build up the discipline by repetition over time, right? Another section I found really interesting, thought people might like to hear about, is staying motivated. And this is what he says about motivation. Don't worry about motivation. Motivation is fickle. It comes and it goes. It is unreliable, and when you're counting on motivation to get your goals accomplished, you will likely fall short. So don't expect to be motivated every day to get out there and make things happen. You won't be. Don't count on motivation. Count on discipline. You know what you have to do, so make yourself do it, right? Thought it was just a very interesting topic because, right, a lot of people are always talking about how do I stay motivated, how do I be motivated to do these things, and again, it's very hard truth, very, he says he's not a philosopher, but very stoic of him in terms of how he believes action and, really like sort of mind over matter type of belief of humans. So then he goes into, right, thoughts, actions part of the book. He talks about a lot of different things, but one thing that I really like that he talks about is physical health. So he does say that he thinks everyone should do some form of martial arts. He talks about, I actually forgot what martial arts he does, jiu-jitsu. He talks about boxing. He talks about wrestling, why he thinks these are very vital skills for people to have. He talks about building your own gym, like using the world as your gym. He talks about adversity. He talks about pain and suffering, but a couple of parts that I really liked in the book, basically between pages 144 and 153, Jocko talks about being addicted to sugar, right? I thought this was just read this part. That's why you can't stop eating it. He says that it's addicting, right? That's why you can't stop eating it. And when you stop eating it, you will feel withdrawal, headache, irritation, anxiety, lies. You will rationalize and start to listen to the lies. Don't. Stay strong. Get off the sugar train. Get off the addiction. Stop eating sugar. A lot of people aren't going to like to hear that, but then he goes on to talk about fuel, and he talks about what your body needs. He says your body needs beef, poultry, fish, eggs, nuts, vegetables, fungi, roots, limited fruits, and some dairy. But you do not need grains, potatoes, refined salts, refined sugar, processed oils, and legumes. So he really gives some practical advice that I found kind of helpful. And he goes on to talk about eating clean and how you can eat clean. And he talks about his belief that, you can't eat 80% clean, 20% non-clean, because that'll eventually turn into 60-40 and then, 40-60. And he really talks about 100% eating clean, 100%. And so there arises a question, well, what happens when I'm in a situation where I can't eat clean? There's nothing clean for me to eat. And he talks about fasting. And he says the decision ought to be don't eat. He talks about on page 150 why fasting is good for your health. It's a good way to improves function of cells, induces loss of fat, reduces risk of insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes, increases brain-derived neurotrophic factors. So, don't really know what that means. Well, he actually says what that means. Increased levels of endorphins, induces detoxification processes. So, maybe that is the answer sometimes, right? Like if you're really trying to eat clean, like myself, I try to eat clean. I do a pretty terrible job at it, but I have started thinking a little bit more about fasting, right? So this was one of those ideas that I thought was just very interesting, very helpful. I'll end with what he says on the back of the book, right? There is no shortcut. There is no hack. There's only one way, so get after it. Hope this was an interesting review for you guys. If you're interested in Jocko's work, definitely recommend this book. I haven't actually read Extreme Ownership, but one of my friends has, and he's highly recommended it, and so I can go ahead and recommend that. But yeah, love to hear from you guys in the comments. Let me know what you think about Jocko, what you think about some of these ideas. I know some of you will probably disagree or might not like the hard truth that he spits it, how he spits it, whatever it is. But yeah, you gotta think about different ideas and hear different people's points of view. And someone who's a war veteran obviously has a very unique point of view. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.